Next up, we have Parker Porter versus Alan Baudot. Porter's coming in as a negative 260 favorite. Baudot coming in as a plus 210 underdog. So the first thing that comes to mind is when you see Parker Porter, this is a guy who looks like he just got done winning a pie eating contest, but actually his movement in the octagon is surprisingly quick. It really surprised me. So that first impression, you can't judge a book by its cover. For sure, when you see this guy move, he doesn't look like he should be able to move as quick as he does. Now, he's not a serial gone by any means or any stretch, but he's definitely faster than he appears. And I have seen a few fights of his, but in his last fight, he went against Sherman. He ended up getting a win that was pretty impressive. Was involved in a very high volume heavy match for heavyweights. There's 149 to 117 significant strikes in that match. He's got a really nice jab. I really liked. It was quite varied. I saw him throw like a stiff jab, a snap jab, a shovel jab, which is like one of Connor's favorites, where he kind of leans off to one side when he throws out that lead hand coming from underneath. So I really liked how much he utilized the jab, which I feel like in heavyweight matches is not often used enough. Oftentimes they're looking for that knockout punch, and they're throwing hooks, they're throwing their power punches. He was really effective, I thought, with his jab. He does tend to square up for his hook combos, which I think leaves him open to someone coming in with, straight down the middle with counters. But he also ended up going to the ground in his last match. He had really good half mount top pressure. He's able to grind on the guy's face, make him really uncomfortable, throw elbows, throw hammer fists. So he seems to be pretty comfortable, whether it's on the mat or standing. He's got nice leg kicks. He's got really good head movement. This is another thing. It doesn't look like the kind of guy who'd be able to move like he does, but he actually had lots of slips where he's just slightly slipping out of the way and trying to come back with counters in his match against Sherman. So really like a lot of what I saw out of Porter in his last match. With Baudot, 2 fights ago, he had a loss against Aspinall. And in his last fight, had a draw against Nascimento. That later ended up being marked as a no contest. He lost the fight, but then it got overturned. It's marked as a no contest, so it's not technically a loss. It's considered a draw. So he doesn't have a win yet in the UFC. As far as his technique goes, he's definitely got a nice 1-2 combo. He threw it several times in the first round, where he's throwing this right overhand that's pretty straight, pretty fast. I thought was quite good technique, especially for heavyweights. He's got pretty good balance. When he was up against the fence in his last match, he had really good wrestling defense, and when Nascimento went to take him down, he was able to scramble and actually came out on top position, and that was just with pretty good wrestling technique, but just balance, which is something that's really great to see out of a heavyweight. Oftentimes, once a guy goes off to one side or the other, they end up going down. He had really mean elbows when his opponent left his head down on a takedown. And we see this sometimes. It seems like it's getting exploited a lot more, where when a guy has a lazy takedown offense, where he takes the shot, he's got his hands around the guy's leg, and he leaves his head at waist level and doesn't finish the shot. That's a big mistake. I feel like guys are really starting to train this a lot. Baudot was able to land some heavy elbows right into right behind the ear, and it really ended up hurting the guy. It didn't end up knocking him out, but I feel like this is a thing that guys need to start training a lot more in the training room when they're doing sparring. I do feel like it is a hard thing to train when you're taking wrestling shots to not leave your head down, because when 2 guys are sparring in the training room, the opponent that you're training with is not going to land heavy elbow blows to the side of your head. So I feel like it's something that a good trainer really needs to pay attention to, that if guys hanging out there, that you've really got to drill, either pull him back out, standing up in the clinch or something, but leaving your head down at waistline when you're taking those wrestling takedown shots up against the fence, it's really bad technique. It leaves you vulnerable, and I feel like guys are a lot more over these past few years taking a lot more advantage of sloppy wrestling technique. Baudot in that same match was also able to he ended up getting I think he may have gotten his nose broken, and then he ended up getting shut down and got TKO'd. But I liked a lot of what I saw up to that point. Once his nose got busted open, it seemed like he didn't want to be there, and he was kind of looking for a way out, which is understandable. He was hurt, he was compromised, and he ended up covering up, and a ref ended up calling as the guy went in for strikes. So I think Parker's the favorite in this fight, and I agree with those odds. He seems like he just has many more weapons than Baudot. And as far as a prediction of how this fight is going to end, I'm predicting that Parker's jab is actually going to lead to the finish in this fight. Do you have any thoughts on this one, Fern?
Yeah, just looking at Parker Porter's build, he's like, they say he's only 6 feet tall, but he's maxing out. He's cutting weight to make the heavyweight limit. So, he's just packing a lot of power, in a short, stocky frame. With Baudot, he's another one of these fighters that's coming in from Europe, from France specifically, which is cool to see. Like, I want to see more international fighters, because that means more international cards and just opens up all these other countries to MMA. And, I'm all for diversifying the fighter pool. I feel like at one point, it was all Brazilians, and it was American wrestlers, and now it's Nigerians, so it's we got Usman, Izzy, and Ngannou, and that's super cool to see. Like, where else are these fighters coming from, and where else can we send fighters to? Like, I really want to see the best fighters in the world compete, and it's cool to see both of these guys. Parker is from Brazil. Am I correct in that? No, he's from the U.S. He's from Hartford, Connecticut.
Well, it says the U.S., but with some of these guys from the U.S., right, they lived and grew up somewhere else, and then they come to the U.S. for training to enter the UFC. So it's hard without looking into the background to know, where they really grow up.
Yeah, but this is going to be, I think, hopefully a stand-up fight. You've seen that more so with heavyweights and with other weight classes. And I believe in Parker's power as well. Like, he's just has that technique, that speed, that I think maybe him just being smaller or shorter than a lot of these heavyweights, he's had to evolve. And it's just nice to see a heavyweight fighter that can move like that.
Absolutely. Looking forward to this one.